Hey guys, Mr. Griggs here. How's it going? Got the first video for our Global History and Geography review series for the New York State Regents exam. This video is going to focus on the Age of Reason. It's the first part of a two-part series on the Age of Reason, and today we're going to focus on the scientific revolution. So, some of the main points and some of the main concepts you need to understand in order to be successful on the Regents exam. So let's get started here. So we're going to focus on some of the main ideas, key people, and major effects of the scientific revolution and the Enlightenment. This is a time period that roughly stretches from 1500 to about the French Revolution in 1789. Those dates are flexible. You're going to hear different dates from different people, but generally 1500s to the late 1700s. So let's get started. Got a couple essential questions, things that you need to think about as we go through this video, things that you need to be able to answer in order to be successful on the Regents exam. And those two questions are the following. So what role did science and technology play in the changes that took place in Europe from roughly 1450 to roughly 1770? Again, the scientific revolution is going to be a game changer for many people in Europe and throughout the world. We need to be able to understand what role science and technology played in those changes. Again, it's not going to stay just in the sciences. It's not going to be in the laboratories. It's going to be in all aspects of life and society. So, we need to think about that as we move forward. And we also want to understand what extent the scientific revolution was a rejection of traditional authority. And the two main, pieces of traditional authority in life for generations, for decades, for centuries was the Roman Catholic Church in Europe and also absolute monarchy. So, how did science reject those two ideas? That's something that we need to understand moving forward. All right. So again, the things you really need to know, if you're going to take anything away from this review session here, is that the scientific revolution had emphasis on a few main things. Number one, observation, experimentation, investigation, and speculation. Just being able to think critically and logically about big problems, across the world in terms of science, right? In terms of the nature of the universe, in terms of how our bodies work. How can we solve those problems in order to help humanity? Those are major questions that need to be answered and are answered during this time period. Again, science continuously moves forward. It's not like science ends, in 1789. It's just this way of thinking develops during this time period and changes the world forever. So again, you need to be able to understand these things in order to be successful in this unit. So again, I'd like to type in or tie in rather different themes that New York State applies to the Regents exam and how they can relate to thematic essays. And the two main themes that you need to be thinking about here during the scientific revolution are going to be science and technology, go figure, and change. All right. So if you get a science and technology thematic essay, and we'll talk more about thematic essays in future videos, you can use the scientific revolution. If you get a change thematic essay that asks you about a great change throughout world history or global history, you can use the scientific revolution, and it's a really good topic to use for that. So we'll get to that as we move forward. But really, the scientific revolution, what was it? Well, it was a dramatic change in how people viewed the world around them. I have a really excellent map here that shows you some of the main centers of scientific and enlightened thought. So this is where a lot of these individuals were working, where they were, publishing works that were getting printed in the printing press and being read by a large group of people across Europe and the world. And I really can't stress that enough, that the printing press helped mass produce these books, and people were able to read these books in their own languages in order to understand these really important concepts. And this accelerated during the scientific revolution, and become a really, really big deal after the 1500s. Again, these scientists are using logic and reason and experimentation and observation in order to make these great radical ideas come to life for a lot of people. So it's a big deal, and it's something that really kickstarted the modern world as we know it today. And none of it would have happened if it wasn't for the scientific method. It's just a procedure that we use, that you use in science class, that scientists use in laboratories, that people use in order to build knowledge of the world around us. I'm not going to go through it. You should have this already in your pocket, ready to go, and you should understand that it's a really great way of drawing conclusions about the world around us. So, who are some of these key people? We remember from class that Copernicus, an astronomer from Poland in the 1400s, developed this idea called heliocentrism, or the heliocentric theory. Now, before this, for thousands and thousands of years, people believed the Earth was the center of the solar system. Now, we know that to be silly today, but it was dogma back in the day. And to challenge that idea was to challenge the Roman Catholic Church, was to challenge all authority in the world at this time. And it was an exceptionally controversial idea. So again, Copernicus really went out on a limb here using observation, and published works that really just changed the way people thought about the universe around them. Now he dies, and leaves a body of work after his death that becomes enormously influential on scientists that followed. And one of those scientists would be Galileo. Now, Galileo is going to be an Italian astronomer and scientist who is going to use the observation and the data from Copernicus to prove that his heliocentric model is correct. And that he's going to use different scientific instruments, including a telescope, in order to help make just unbelievable discoveries that have had a massive impact on the world. He is going to be in the center of the Roman Catholic world in Italy, and the Roman Catholic Church is going to be really upset with his ideas, and they're essentially upset that he's going against church teachings. So again, he gets arrested, he gets put on trial, and he is homebound. He's put under house arrest for the remainder of his life. And it's just one example of the traditional authorities challenging new ideas. His ideas again are going to be left to the next generation of scientists who are going to build upon those ideas. Again, none of this stuff happens in a vacuum, right? Someone comes up with an idea, another person builds upon that idea, another person builds upon those ideas, and the body of science grows. Kepler is going to be an astronomer who's going to use a lot of the ideas of Copernicus, and he's actually a contemporary, lives during the same time period as Galileo, and he's going to come up with this idea of laws of planetary motion, how the planets move in the solar system. Again, crazy influential information coming out here. He's going to influence Sir Isaac Newton, who we're going to talk about in a second, and again, he's going to help legitimize physics as a science during this time period, and a really important science at that. Sir Isaac Newton, again, he's a mathematician and astronomer. He's famous for, developing calculus and theory of gravity, and those are just incredibly important discoveries that help us understand the world around us. There's a great story, and it's a timely story, that in the 1600s, there was a bout of the bubonic plague going around England, and Sir Isaac Newton was involved with Cambridge University, one of the leading research universities in the world even today. And he was hidden away for about a year or so in isolation and quarantine, if you will, and helped develop some of that time by himself helped him develop some of the great ideas that would be influential for generations and generations even to this day. So it goes to show you that even in tough times, really important things can happen and really influential things can happen. So who knows what's going to happen this time around. Next, we have Descartes. He is a French mathematician, scientist, philosopher, and he is interested in many things, but one of his most important contributions is to philosophy and the nature of reality. And he's famous for this really influential quote, "I think, therefore I am." I'm not going to get too deep into this, but essentially, he's questioning the nature of reality and the world around him. He's like, how do I know I exist? Well, I can doubt, so I know I exist. And, this is a super radical thought. If you're interested in that stuff, there's philosophy and metaphysics and the nature of reality. Feel free to go and look up some videos on YouTube about it, or read about it. It's really interesting stuff. And again, people are going to build on this idea in philosophy and come up with some pretty neat ideas. So again, at the end of the day, what are some of the major effects of the scientific revolution? Well, it's going to help spread new ideas. And these ideas are going to be accelerated through the printing press. All right. And many people are going to read about these ideas. It's going to challenge traditional authority. So the Catholic Church and the absolute monarchs of the time period, they're going to resist these ideas because it challenges their power, challenges their authority. And again, these ideas are going to lead directly to the Enlightenment. And the Enlightenment, for what the scientific revolution does to science, the Enlightenment's going to do to politics and society. So at the end of the day, guys, can you answer these questions? Can you answer these essential questions? And if you can, you're going to be very successful on this topic on the Regents exam. So let me know if you have any questions. Had a lot of fun making these videos, and hopefully you guys got something out of it. Stay tuned for the Enlightenment video, one of my favorite topics, as we know. And yeah,